I'm Alice Resch, a certified career counselor with the University of Phoenix, and 20 years experience working on thousands of resumes, while also experienced working with national employers and recruiters, knowing what they're looking for today in resumes. And that's why I'm so excited to lead you through this webinar. So let's get right to the heart of what's most important about resumes. The most important step to writing a resume is to focus on what's important to your future boss. If you don't know, then you won't be able to write a resume that stands out. Everything you write should be to show the employer that you understand what's important to them and that you're the best person to help them achieve their goals. That's what it means to tailor your resume to the. How often do you analyze a job ad for core competencies when updating your resume? That's really what you want to do. In order to tailor your resume to the job, you have to learn what the employer wants from you. Here's a simple 3-step process to do just that. First, study several job descriptions for the type of job you want. Second, identify the key responsibilities and skills that keep coming up for those job descriptions. This will tell you exactly what employers are looking for. Third, align your experience to the job description to show you're a good fit for the role. Let's look at an example of how to do this on the right. Here's a sample of a job description for a project coordinator. The core responsibilities and keywords have been highlighted in red. Now in the experience section of the resume, this example, the candidate has highlighted experiences with projects and the type of skills outlined in the job description. This candidate made it very easy to identify the projects they've worked on by creating a notable project section with detailed descriptions. That's how you tailor your resume to the job. This is something you can't force if you don't have the experience. It'll be difficult to demonstrate a fit for the role. The second step to creating a resume that gets noticed is to choose the right design and format. You need to make sure critical information is easy to find and read, both by humans and optical scanners. First, let's talk about appearance. Your resume appearance matters. A simple but aesthetically pleasing resume helps you present yourself professionally while also making it easy for your reader to quickly find relevant information. Start with a blank document, not a Microsoft Word document. MS Word templates usually use embedded tables and content controls, which can also cause problems for applicant tracking systems. It can also be difficult to make changes to your resume later because the templates are difficult to edit. Keep your design simple and use color in moderation. If you're in a conservative industry like law or accounting, stick to black and white, but if you're applying to a hip tech startup, perhaps use color. The important thing is to consider your reader and understand the company culture. Use 1/2 inch to 1 inch margins all around. If you want more space for content, use smaller margins. If you don't have much work history, then perhaps use 1 inch margins so it's easier to fill up the page. Create clearly labeled sections to make it easy to spot your information. Be consistent with font styling, and alignment so the resume has a uniform appearance. It's customary for your name to be in larger font as well as your headings. Avoid dense paragraphs and use more bulleted statements to make the resume easy and quick to scan. Balance text with white space so your resume doesn't look cluttered. Stick to font styles that are common. These fonts listed in our PowerPoint are all good options. The top row of the fonts are sans serif fonts. They don't have the squiggly lines at the end. They have a modern appearance and feel. The bottom row are serif fonts, and they give a more traditional look. It's usually best to stay between a 10 to 12 point font size for the body of your resume and 14 to 18 point font size for your name and headers. It's also important to make sure your information is consistently aligned. As a best practice, list the company name and job titles in the left margin and always place dates in the right margin. If you place dates on the left, this too can cause issues with applicant tracking systems, so it's best to stick with this common format. When providing your name and contact information, consider how much space you're using. If you've got lots of experience, use the format on top so you can save room for more important information in the resume. If you have very little work history and need to fill up the page, use the format on the bottom. It's also important to make sure you're using a professional email address, which should just be your name. You can also include your LinkedIn profile if you've already polished it up, or a link to your portfolio, professional website, or any other site used to showcase work that supports your career goal. When working on your experience section, there are several formats you could use. The reverse chronological format is the most common. As you can see in this example, you start with your most recent work experience and work your way backwards. Another format you may wish to use is the subdates format. This format works well for someone who had 2 or more positions in the same company. You list the company once, along with the total time spent there, followed by your positions and the dates of employment for that particular role in parentheses. This way you see the longevity with one employer, but also the growth of different roles within the same company. The last format I want to show you is the stack and summarize format. This format is useful for people who have been at one company for most of their career and have advanced to higher level roles, but don't want to waste space on their resume rehashing experience in the lower level roles. When listing your positions with the company, stack your position titles on top of one another and include subdates for each role. Then underneath the stacked positions, write a brief paragraph that summarizes your career progression and the key accomplishments of your current role. Another important step to creating a resume that gets noticed is to provide evidence of your fit. That means you need to show concrete examples and tangible results. The first step is to find your success stories in creating these tangible results. Reflect on your experience and ask yourself these questions. How is my performance measured? What metrics can I provide to prove I am a top performer? Did I improve upon an existing process or solve any specific problems? What did I do that was above and beyond my normal job duties? These all are excellent questions on this PowerPoint to ask yourself when quantifying your experience. So how do you remember your results? There are many ways to do this, but here are 3 important steps. First, add numbers to your resume. Review your resume and look for spaces where you can ask yourself how much or how many. For example, if you managed or trained people, how many people did you train? If you managed a budget, how much money? Second, share your details. As you review your own resume, look for spaces where you can ask yourself, such as, or in what specific way. For example, if you assisted your manager with a special project, in what specific way did you assist? If you provide excellent customer service, ask yourself, such as, and try to describe your best example, including a specific result. Third, when talking about certain job duties, you need to say why it matters. Look for statements in your resume where you can ask yourself, so what? For example, if you implemented a new process, so what? Why was this important? And what value did it add to your employer? Here are some examples of bullet statements that were transformed into accomplishments. Once we've quantified our work experience, a formula that can help you write your bulleted statements is action verb plus description of what you did plus the outcome or purpose. As you can see, here are some examples of this formula in action. So here we see developed and trained 20 district managers on effective negotiation and buying strategies that cut expenses by an average of 15% across 75 stores. You can see how impressive it is when you use this formula when writing your content. Or coached 35 teachers on implementing thinking maps into curriculum to develop students' problem solving and decision making skills. You see how nicely that flows. This concludes our webinar, and we are delighted that you participated today. If there's anything more that we can do for you, just reach out. We're here to help you. Thanks so much for your time, and good luck on your job hunting.